Hey, what's up dudes? I was just restringing one of my favorite guitars, the Ibanez FR365, and I figured I'd take a minute to show you things that I do when I restring just to make sure that I don't get any scratches or damage on the guitar in the process. So what I do as a side job is I buy guitars and I resell them. So I always restring guitars just to make sure that I can get in there and get the gunk off primarily, and you can't really do that with the strings on, so anytime I get a new guitar that I'm planning on reselling, I'll put a fresh pair of strings on there. It's cheap, and then when you post it, you can just put in there, like, recently put on new set of strings, which to some people is important, so it's something that I always do. So tip number one, and this is actually super simple, but a lot of people don't think about it. It's actually something that I learned from Rob Chapman from one of his older videos about switching out strings, is once you get the strings totally loose, you don't want to just pull them through the body, because what can happen is that all these little bent ends, one of them might go stray and just shank the body when you pull it through and just leave a little mark right there. And unfortunately this is something that I have had happen to me several times, and instantly drops the value of a guitar. And what's worse is if it's one of your guitars that you love, you're gonna hate yourself for not taking 2 seconds to just snip these things off. It makes it so much easier. Snip! Snip. You probably don't want to drop them on the guitar like I'm doing right now, but you get the idea, right? Ta-da! So another thing you're gonna want to do once you get the strings off, like I mentioned earlier, is wipe it down. It's amazing how much gunk you can get off just from wiping it. I bought this guitar from a guy for 150 bucks, and it was covered in gunk and cat hair, and it looked horrible. But I spent maybe like 30 minutes just with a microcloth just working on it, and now it is just gorgeous. Like, I would never sell it. Take a minute and just get in like where you can. Then sometimes I'll take a Q-tip and I'll use it in the parts down here, so you don't actually have to like take apart the bridge or anything like that, because I know that can be frustrating to put back together and get set up properly. So I'll just take a Q-tip and I'll kind of get in there. But just make sure that you clean everything while you've got a chance. Up here as well, you get a lot of gunk and dust hanging underneath the strings where you can't usually clean. I'm kind of crazy about cleaning my guitars. I like to clean them often if they're ones that I like my favorite ones. I'll clean them all the time because I play them all the time and they get dirty. So some people might not do this, but I like to take the minute to just clean her up. Also, if you have any kind of like a fretboard treatment or cleaner, I just use the Dunlop pack, and it works really, really well. I love that refinishing stuff because it darkens the neck too. So if the wood has kind of dried out and it's got kind of not that like rich look, that oil stuff, get some because it makes it look amazing again. Totally worth it. Also, I did have a friend who attempted to take some sandpaper, like super high grit sandpaper, to clean the neck. Ugh, that's a bad idea. Don't do that. Don't take sandpaper to your neck unless you know what you're doing. I would just use the cleaning stuff and just degunk it as best you can, because otherwise, if you're trying to resell especially, you might end up totally ruining the guitar. Another thing that seems really obvious but has happened to me as well is put down a towel or something soft that's going to cover what you're working on. I have had it happen where I was like, it's fine, I'll just put it right on this table, and there was like a couple little pebbles on the table, and when I went to move the guitar, it just shanked the back, which I know isn't like the end of the world, but had it happened to the front of the guitar, I probably would have just, I don't know, I probably would have just thrown it out the window in rage. So remember to always put down something that's not going to scratch your guitar on your work surface, so you don't scratch it like a doofus. Alright, so last tip. This one, again, seems kind of obvious, but no one ever told this to me, so I wish someone had. After I get the new strings through the machine heads and I'm going to trim them, so many times I've gone to trim and accidentally, with a pair of wire cutters, put a scratch or a dent in the headstock. I'm probably just not taking my time, really, when I'm doing it, so I end up shanking it, unfortunately. So what I'll do is I will take a towel and I'll just put it underneath where I'm going to trim, and then that way I know that when I trim it, I'm not going to accidentally hit the body in any way, which you know, you're not really going to see a scratch on the headstock. They're usually very small, especially from a string. But again, if you're looking to resell or if it's your baby, it's really gonna be frustrating. So I would say just take 2 seconds, put like a rag or a towel or something there before you snip. And alright, that's everything for this video. There's going to be a review of this one coming out really soon because, like I said, it's one of my most favoriteest guitars. But remember, when you're changing out the strings, just take your time, clean it while you've got the strings off, and make sure you don't shank it, especially if it's one that you love. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time!